This is Mike and Bill Hirst at Highland Hill Farm, and we're going to discuss with you today some important aspects of maintaining your arborvitas after we planted them for you. The most important aspect of maintaining your arborvita is proper watering.
For proper watering of arborvitas is not a task of looking at a calendar and saying how many times a week we need to water a plant. For watering a plant properly, the task is looking at the soil and at the plant and see how much water it needs. Each location you plant a tree at needs a different amount of water for the plant to survive. A good example is if you plant an arborvita in a shaded location where it's down in a sloped area where water drains to and settles, that location will need less water as compared to a location where it's full sun next to a black asphalt driveway where it's very dry and there's water runs off and it's the first place to dry. So taking this information and applying it to trees that we plant, I usually tell people that they need to water 3 to 4 times a week during the spring, summer, and fall to make sure that the plant's doing well. This is just a general rule that I use. I always tell people that if we go into a drought, we'll have to water more, or if we have a wet week, we can water less. The idea of watering is to make sure that the plant is moist. If you overwater a plant and the soil is saturated with water, the roots in the soil can't breathe and they rot. Plants that don't get enough water for them, when they get transplanted, whenever any tree gets transplanted, a lot of the roots get disturbed and they no longer transport water as well. So when we plant a tree in the ground that's been dug or it's been cut, or you score it when you put it in the ground, it doesn't have the same number of roots as it did a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So the homeowner is now in charge of watering it so that it has enough water to compensate for the loss of roots during the transplant process. And if you don't water enough, the tree's system starts to shut down. It can lose foliage, it can turn colors, it can die. When trees go into drought stress, which sometimes happens in transplants, the roots that are still on the tree can grow a cuticle. And once that cuticle is grown, a cuticle is a waxy layer on the root. And once that cuticle grows, it can take 2 to 3 weeks of correct watering before that cuticle to dissolve. So when we water, we want to make sure that we water correctly. If we overwater, we can kill the roots by drowning them. If we underwater, the tree system can shut down, leading to death, and it can take a long time for it to recover back to normal. So proper watering is important. We just have to go out, touch the soil, make sure it's moist. It's called a touch test. If it's moist, you're good to go. If it feels a little dry, give it some water. If it's too wet, let it go, let it dry out. If you have any questions, you can call that.
Yes, our number is 215-651-8329, and call us if you have any questions, because if you call us, we can correct a problem. If you wait till the problem to manifest itself to a brown tree, it's too late. So don't hesitate to call at 215-651-8329 to get answers for your questions on your arborvitas after